Yeah, so I don't know if I remember exactly where I was or the day, but I remember it was around 2016 when he posted about having sent it. It was kind of, everyone was talking about it. I'm pretty certain I was away in a competition, I think in France maybe, with the sort of GB junior climbing team, and everyone was talking about it, and then the film came out and we all watched it together, and we were all just like watching this crazy film, and it just seemed like a completely ridiculous sort of feat and boulder that's so far beyond anything that I even thought was possible. So it was just like, watching that was like watching, you know, a crazy action film where you just picture it as like, it's fun to watch, but it's completely removed from what you actually think you could do. Definitely not. Hearing about it and watching that video for the first time, it seemed so far beyond what I thought would ever be possible for me. It definitely seemed like that sort of next level above where I imagined I could even get to as an adult. So, because I was fairly young, or younger back then, I guess, and I knew that I was still had progression. I had a long way to go, but yeah, even up until probably last year, I don't think I ever thought I would climb Burden of Dreams. It always seemed like it was just going to be that level too far. So I think I realised the boulder might actually be possible for me on the second session I had on the replica earlier this year. The first session I went, and it went better than expected. I did 2 out of the 5 moves, but the easiest 2 moves that are considerably easier than the others, and the other moves just completely shut me down. I got kind of close to 1, but the other 2, no hope. And then I kind of wrote it off and was like, yeah, that's kind of solidifies in my mind that it's too hard, it's not for me. But for some reason I got psyched and I was like, you know what, let's go back, have another look. Went back for a second session and it went way better. I felt strong on the 2 moves I had done, or stronger, and I did a third move and then somehow linked the 3 moves I had done together, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, maybe this is possible. And the other 2 moves still felt ridiculous and I was nowhere near them, but I was like, I mean, why don't I sort of thought about it seriously. I was like, you know what, let's go back, have a good couple more sessions and get serious about it, and then maybe, I was thinking, you know, in the future, like next year from now, if I train this whole year, I might have a shot. I was definitely not expecting it to come together anywhere near as fast as it did, but I think it was that second session where I sort of realised that it might actually be an achievable goal for me. So arriving in Finland and seeing the real boulder, I just, like that whole first day, I just could not stop smiling, even from like waking up and going there, and just being outside, seeing the actual real boulder, and just kind of experiencing that sort of magic from remembering when I first saw the film about it and all the photos that came with Natalie trying it, and then actually being there. It was going from the indoor wall and then to the outdoors, and I think that was the biggest difference actually, specifically about the boulder. The holds all had a little bit more texture and friction than the replica, which was a really nice surprise because it meant it was feeling a little bit easier. And the final hold that you do the last hard move to felt so much better than on the replica, and I was like, whoa, okay, right, I went out here on a short trip with the plan just to see if the boulder was like the replica and if it was good to train on, so I would know to go back. And going out on that first day, I was just like, whoa, I actually have a chance of doing this, and it completely blew my mind. It was, yeah, I really couldn't stop smiling. The conditions in Finland were pretty amazing actually. I got really lucky. So training on the replica in Sheffield and Chesterfield, the holds, the texture's not quite as good, and it was quite warm and humid on a lot of days, so it always felt quite slippy, and doing bigger links in 1 or 2 moves was really hard. Whereas going to Finland, the first week of weather wasn't ideal, but from there it was basically sunny and dry the whole time, and it was just crisp air. The holds felt amazing, and every session you could just feel so much friction. It was like really biting into your skin, which was a problem because it would tear your skin really fast, but it was definitely way better being out there. Yeah, so I think for me in climbing especially, I find it really easy, or not really easy, but I find it easier to stay positive because I think I'm always focused on sort of a more long-term approach. So I went to Finland not expecting to send the boulder at all, so everything was a surprise. I was hoping by the end of the trip I might have done every move, never mind getting close to it. So even if I didn't send, I knew that it had been a successful trip. And also, as long as I felt like I was making progress, whether it was I was able to give more attempts that day, or I did one of the moves slightly better, or attempted a move even slightly better and got closer, then I was happy leaving with that. So in the end, when I was giving the send days and the send goes, and I was having really bad attempts, they were definitely frustrating. But I just had to stop and remember, after a minute, that I was out here thinking I might actually have a chance to send this boulder. So when I would think that, then I'd get just super happy and psyched again. So yeah, I think physically it's going to be the hardest boulder I've ever done by like a good step up. But the sort of mental and technical aspect to it is huge. It's a really testing boulder for patience, I think, because you can only have a handful of goes per session before your skin goes, and the weather window is really short through the year. You get, I think, one good month in spring, maybe one in autumn. So you're going out there with only a month's time, and you know if you have too many goes, you're going to cut a finger and have to rest for a week. If you only have a couple goes and don't cut fingers, you're still resting for at least a day afterwards. And you don't want to go and train or do other climbing because you want to keep your skin as good. So that was for sure one of the most testing parts of it. And I think is one of the reasons it took Nali a long time to send, was just having to deal with bad conditions in the skin and getting into the right shape, learning the sequence. So I think it all compounded, and that's why he gave it 9A, and I think he was right to do so. I definitely think it is the top step that I've done in bouldering. I think it was a step above other climbs. And I think the mental aspect of just keeping the psych to keep going back and only give a couple goes before you have to stop each day, especially if you do one go like wrong, hit hold badly and you just cut your finger, it was hard work. It was very challenging being able to rest as much as needed. There was a lot of days where I think I maybe could have done it a bit smarter at the start of the trip, where I didn't rest as much as I should, and then I cut fingers, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'll take one rest day and I'll go back and I'll tape this finger and it'll be okay. But then you'd cut another finger because you had taped that one, and I realized quite quickly that that wouldn't work, and then had to transition to just taking a lot more rest days, making sure I was really reserved and actually keeping the skin good. And then the last couple sessions, I think I got that fairly wired and was able to have good skin for the sessions and not rip. It was definitely very difficult to do though, but Finland's an absolutely incredible country. And so on a lot of the rest days I was going around sightseeing, went to some of the local towns, drove to the coast a good few times because it was close by. Saw the Baltic Sea, which was all frozen over and absolutely beautiful. So it's quite easy to distract myself with that, but I did watch a lot of TV shows as well. So yeah, I mean, Nali sent it 7 years ago, and then my journey, I suppose, started then when I first saw it, but seriously started when I first tried it in the replica in January. So I guess like 4 months. So the problem has very small edge feet, and you need to put as much power through them as you can because it's so steep and they're so small that you can lose tension really easily. So I wore the Hangul and the Hangul Pro. So Hangul on my right foot, Hangul Pro on my left. And I did this because for me the Hangul is like the most aggressive downturn stiff shoe that I like using, and it is really good for putting tension through bad feet on a steep wall. But I used the Pro on the left foot because there's one foothold which is kind of indented into the wall, and with it having a slightly more narrow profile, you could then really actually sit into it better and keep the weight as you move through the foot. And that was absolutely key. That was probably the crux for me, was getting that foot to work. So that shoe really helped with that. Yes, I think I would do it again. I think it'd be very hard to get another boulder which we have the replica for, because it needs someone to go there. Like, to start on a replica is a weird way of doing it. I think it would be me going to the boulder first, really liking it, maybe scanning it, making it a replica. But the whole process of documenting it, I really enjoyed. I thought it was interesting, and it gives, you know, it gives a whole journey behind and kind of shows what I'm experiencing as well to other people. So I would definitely do that again. And I enjoyed doing the live streams at the boulders too. I think, again, that's very situational, because it needs to be somewhere where you've got good phone service, and I guess it's quite a short boulder, so you can be not on the wall too much, so you can chat, but also showing close-ups. But we'd definitely be open to doing it again in the future. Honestly, completely unbelievable. So I think my main goal is Excalibur 9B Plus route by Stefano Ghisolfi in Italy, that I tried at the end of last year, and actually was what I was meant to be going to try before I got sidetracked and went to Finland in spring. But it's too hot for that now, probably until November. So I've got some little plans, but that's the main goal in the back of my mind, and everything that I'll do from now till then, it'll just kind of be hopefully training that will help with trying that in the future.